There are many definitions of jazz, but they all insist that it is a unique way of expression through individual and collective improvisation. The three essential components of jazz improvisation are melodic, harmonic, and rhythmic, with special emphasis on rhythm. To begin with, I'd like to examine the basic major scale and its elements, the modes, from which basic harmony is derived. Now, you probably already know these modes, but I'd like to run through them since in this lesson and the lessons that follow, we're going to find different ways to articulate them. Now, these all come from the major scale or the Ionian. We'll take this key of C major for simplicity's sake. Here they are. Remember, these modes are the essential components of all major scales, and they each have their own color and feeling. Of course, all scales, no matter which, all have their own modes, and we'll examine these as we progress. Here are some variations in the basic modes, and we'll develop different types of variations as we go through the lessons. For the sake of simplicity in the beginning, all the exercises will use the mode from C Ionian, C major. For development of fluency, though, the student should try the exercises in different tonalities and positions. In this case, I'm going to play the modes and variations with a corresponding drone on their root notes in order to show the color and atmosphere of each mode. I'd like to play some improvisations using some of the modal variations we saw just now. But I'm going to take an accompaniment to these, and I'm going to use the following sequence. C major 7th 1 bar, F major 7th over G 1 bar, and we'll repeat. This can be written like this. Now, as you know, a chord is simply the notes of a particular mode played simultaneously. In general, the key notes of most chords are the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. The other notes, being the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 9th, 11th, 13th, can and should be added to the principal notes in order to create color and tension in the chords. In fact, chords with only the principal notes quickly become boring. But we'll examine the structure of chords as we progress. Meanwhile, by examining the notes of these two chords, the C major 7th and the F major 7th over the G, we can see that the notes of these two chords come directly from the modes found in the scale of C major. The C chord corresponds to the first mode, C ionian. The second chord corresponds to the fifth mode, G mixolydian. We can, of course, begin our phrasing from any note in these modes. Our sequence will now look like this.